Hi, I'm John Strange at Guided Fishing Norway, and I'm going to show you how to make a very simple but strong rig, effective at a lot of marks. Very simple. One of the reasons you want it simple as possible is because a lot of the marks are pretty snaggy, and you want it strong because you've got a potential to catch a big fish, as we proved a couple of weeks ago with the new World Shore Record cod. So we're going to start off with some Veal's 150 pound sort of shot rig nylon. You can use anything similar as long as it's strong, a bit supple, be good. So you want to start off, get a piece about I'd say just over a metre, a figure of 8 knot, like so. Pull that through, wet it a tiny bit, pull that up tight, and then you're going to start with some tubing. Now you start off with a small piece of sort of like an 8mm tube and make a slider. You put the line through that, back through the same one again without crossing the lines over, and then that's stuck to the line, but it will slide up and down. Put another one on just as a backup in case one of them goes. Put that on there. Then you want a piece of luminous tubing, which is about a 4mm. I'm going to put that on there. All this will become apparent when it all gets put together. Small luminous muppet. You don't have to use a muppet, but I mean, I like to. Glows in the dark. A lot of the marks are really deep, so you know it's nice to have a bit of visual. And then a short piece of thicker tubing, the same stuff you made the stop knots with, sliders. So that's all on the snud. Get it all out of the way. Then you get your hook. Now this is a 10-0 Gamakatsu octopus hook. And it's got an offset. It's got an offset eye, and it's got a curve, and it's a very strong hook. I use single hooks predominantly because panel rigs are really designed for worm baits, and you're using fish baits, and 2 hooks, twice the cost and twice as much chance of snagging. So one hook is in the fish. It's pretty much you and the fish. Then if you use a rotten bottom as well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to whip this hook onto the line, quite simply. Like so. And that's on there. You can trim that. Leave a tag. Always leave a tag. Don't trim them too short. Now this first big bit of tubing, it's going to go straight over that knot. Hopefully. There you go. Now what this gives you, when you put your bait on, and you're winding your elastic on, gives you something to bite the elastic into, and presents the bait really well, because you imagine soaking that bait for an hour, little fish pecking at it, maybe some crabs. They tend to, with a single hook, the reason people still use panels with fish bait is they're worried the bait's going to ride up and mask the hook point and fall off the hook even. With this, you can present a bait very well on a single hook. So you can use that on its own. You don't need the muppet, but because of the depth of the water and the clarity of the water, I like to have a luminous muppet on there as well. Now this luminous muppet will in fact slide over that piece of tubing, like so. Now this other piece of tubing will slide into the back of the muppet, and then these two then slide down to hold it all together. Now what you're left with is a really good castable rig. You can get a reasonable bait on that, a heron head, or a big piece of fillet, bluey, whatever you like. But also, as it's falling through the water, not only is it it's not just the scent and the what you'd normally get from a bait. You get this thing glowing in the dark as it falls through the water, and they can see very well in this clear water, so it helps. Especially on some of the very deep marks when you're fishing for ling and lum. You want as much attraction as you can. So then all you do, you've got your figure of 8 knot in your hand there to balance the rig up. Pull that two together like that. Now they're the same length. Then you add, I always add about 8 inches or so. like that. Get that out of the way so you don't get it in your hand. Bead. Swivel. Bead. See where I'm wearing glasses. Let's get another bead. And a lead link. I don't like using lead links that are open. I like using ones that are enclosed. Potential for line snags. You want something that's going to ride over those line snags rather than just pick them up. Now with this heavier mono, a 3-turn grinner or unit knot is suffice. You don't need to put too many turns on it. It's never going to slip. And again, trim it. I just leave a 1/4 inch at least. There's no point. You're not trying to break world records with distance with casting. You want it secure, and if it slips, you don't want it to come undone. So there's your basic rig, and it's just one piece of line, your business end, and your lead. Now you can then add a little rotten bottom on the bottom of that. I'm using 0.35 titanium. Tie that onto the lead link, which is usually like a uni knot, grinner, whatever you like. And you can go lighter on the rotten bottom, but you don't want to give the leads away, and this is always going to snap before you mainline well. And imagine if a fish is tethered and your lead's stuck. If you had a 0.35 hook length, you wouldn't expect to get that fish back in. You'd say it would snap that hook length. So in theory it should snap the rotten bottom for you. If not, when you pull, you'll snap it yourself. Now I'm using like an oval type split ring, which is big enough for the rotten bottom hook, which I'll show you in a minute. Big enough for that to go in and out easily. I'll tie that again. I want to keep the rotten bottom quite short. I don't want it tangling around the hook length. Trim that off there. And then we've got one of these. If you can see that, it's just basically a hook with an eye. It's just a very simple type of rotten bottom. Clip that onto the lead link itself, and what you're left with is that. Yeah. When you cast, you put the lead onto this, obviously, and then that just goes on there like so, and that will hang down like that, and the lead will still be attached to that split ring. Now you can't really swing a lead with that unless you're on your own. If you've got mates or other people around, you just over a thump or off the ground. Bright and cast, that sort of thing, and it'll go plenty far enough. And that is basically your rig. Your variations on that could be length of pulley, it could be size of hook. Don't use the muppets. You could add floaty bead. If it was a halibut rig, for example, you might not want to use these. You might want to put some floaty beads on instead. But I would always go for a single hook. The only time I'd use a panel is if there's a lot of small fish around, but there's big fish amongst them, and you can't get a bait through the small fish. You're not legally allowed to live bait in Norway, but if you accidentally hook a small fish and with a big hook behind it, then that's the time I would consider using 2 hooks. But other than that, I'd stick to 1. Hope that helps.